calling you. The universe is calling me. It speaks both day and night. It's full of dark and light.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sky Tour Radio here on KGRA Radio. It is Mark Antonio here with the effervescent and ebullient Amanda Curran. Hey Amanda.
Hey.
I barely heard you, Amanda. A little more ebullient.
Not as effervescent as I should be.
Yeah, see, that's you disappointed me with your effervescence, but that's okay. And then of course we have Daryl Mason with us. Daryl, what's happening?
Hi, Mark. I'm good. How are you? Hello, Amanda.
Hey.
Hello, ladies.
Well, Daryl kind of gave it away. I didn't introduce anybody yet, but we also have a couple of guests tonight with us. Oh no, not at all.
I'm excited.
I know, and that's fantastic. We have one of the hosts of the iDetective show on KGRA Radio, Marianne Robb. Hello, Marianne. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Daryl. I am excited to be here tonight.
Exactly. It's going to be like the Waltons. Good night, John Boy. Good night, John. It's going to be like when we end. And we also have the most amazing Arizona artist with us, Tara Dulis, who actually did the door of the Sky Tour live stream West Observatory. Hello, Tara.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi, Mark and Daryl and Amanda and Marianne.
You're right. You're going to forget who's on.
I better write that down.
Tara.
Now,
and hi to Bill in the background, and hi to all our listeners.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
All inclusive here.
Exactly. And I do have to say, as of this point, it was just a couple days ago when we had our 3-year anniversary on KGRA with Sky Tour Radio.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, right. And Amanda, you know the exact date, Amanda, because you told me about it earlier.
Yeah, it was actually January 28th, which I guess 3 years ago was a Sunday, and we were just at 1 hour, and we were just making our very first debut, and you guys stayed around, and you supported us, and you pushed for 2 hours, which we got, and you followed us to our new time slot here, and but I mean, we wouldn't be here without you guys, so thank you. Happy anniversary to you guys. Thanks for making it such a big success.
Exactly. She couldn't have said it better. I believe, that you guys are the reason that we're here. We don't like necessarily talking just to ourselves. And you show us with weekly attendance that you like what you see and what you hear. And I say like what you see because we're going to be going to video soon as well. And Amanda's familiar with that because she's been doing this with other radio hosts. She actually helps out a lot of people at KGRA, and she's fantastic at it. So I don't care if it inflates your head, Amanda. It should.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
StreamYard is fun.
Yeah.
She is amazing. She is a fantastic producer on our show. I just love her.
Marianne.
See that? Well, Marianne, your show is iDetective. That's on, when is that again? Tell everybody.
Well, it is on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern on KGRA Radio.
Awesome. And you have some pretty good, it's a show about cops, by cops, and for cops. Is that right?
Exactly, yes.
I might have got those abouts or by wrong in the wrong order, but I think, it's by cops, about cops, for cops, something like that. I don't know.
Well, it's made by cops, for cops, about cops, as Krista Perno puts it. But no, it's a great show. We start out, if you don't mind me kind of talking a little bit about it, we start out with dedications to fallen officers, basically around the world. Our host, Krista Perno, and I do that. And then we have our news with our wonderful correspondent from Law Enforcement News Network. He's retired lieutenant out of Las Vegas Metro Police Department, Randy Sutton. And he's got some really good news stories that come out, and we've had some real interesting ones lately with everything going on. We then have a guest, and we've had some amazing guests lately on our show. And then we end our show with what we call choir practice. And that is with retired sergeant out of Syracuse, New York, John Savage. And that kind of choir practice gives funny stories. And you can ask Amanda about some of the funny stories we've had. And it's just after all the somber and very sad stories and very stressful stories we had during the whole show, we end with lighthearted stories. So it's got a mixture of everything, and it's a wonderful, wonderful show.
That's fantastic.
Well, choir practice is when the cops go to the bar, isn't it?
Either bar or somebody's house or some park after you get off work, correct. But you ask a lot of young officers what is choir practice, they're thinking you're going to church and having your choir practice with singing. And they have no clue what a real choir practice is like back in the 60s and 70s.
That's funny. That's really funny. Well, I'm really appreciative to have you here, Marianne. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody's going to understand a little bit more about why Marianne and Tara are on tonight's show here in just a few minutes. But I do want to say that, they both have very busy lives and they do a lot of things. So I really want to thank them for taking the time to come on with us tonight. And I mean that, guys. I'm glad you were here.
Thank you. I feel pretty honored. I feel like I'm in the big leagues coming on Sky Tour Radio. I mean, this is amazing. I got to say that.
I'll give you that $10 you asked for saying that, later.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, in any case, when we talk about Sky Tour Radio, we're talking about really two things. We're talking about Sky Tour Radio, our presence on the radio, and we're also talking about Sky Tour Livestream, our presence with the observatory. We have two observatories now. We have one here in Connecticut, and we just shipped all the equipment out to Arizona, and Marianne knows all about that because she managed all of that. And that equipment is going into the now completed Arizona Observatory. Hopefully, I keep saying soon. It was supposed to be in there months ago, but COVID kept me here. I didn't have it, but it kept me here because of travel restrictions and quarantine requirements. And, for those that know, I do have a model making and visual effects company, and we do a lot of work for the Navy, and I can't come back here and be expected to meet with Navy clients if I've just come from a hot state, as Arizona has continued to be. So I've had to put off that trip 6 times now, and no one is unhappier about it than me. Trust me. But we're looking forward to installing all this equipment. And SkyTour Livestream has always been this amazing live deep sky observatory that we show. Our producer, Bill New York Skywatcher, who we can't thank enough. He's the reason, by the way, that we are on KGRA, just so you know. He thought it would be a great idea to bring astronomy to KGRA. So it's your fault, Bill. Like it or not. It's your fault that I'm here and with Daryl and Amanda and now these two wonderful ladies who have joined us tonight. And so what started as just a live deep sky observatory was something that joined the live meteor watches, which Bill hosted, and the live moon watches that P&K Space Imaging, also on YouTube, was doing. And SkyTour Livestream is one of the 3 happy triumvirate. We're a happy triumvirate now. And we can be found on astroimaging.live.com. And we can be found on Facebook at our Facebook SkyTour Livestream site. And we can be found in various other places, including on my Facebook page and other people's Facebook pages. So we got a rich history already and thousands of people that have joined us and subscribed. So we've got a lot of fun there that we do. And we show people amazing things in the night sky they'd never see without our nice big telescopes. And we take images that are never more than 30 seconds or a minute long. And because of the system that we're using and our capabilities, we can bring out data that are in these deep sky objects that you just don't normally get to see. And on SkyTour Livestream, we have Amanda with us and Daryl, And so you get the 3 of us on SkyTour Radio and the three of us on SkyTour Livestream. So it's a logical co-production, so to say, so to speak. So we have a lot of fun, and I think that you folks that haven't subscribed, just go ahead, go subscribe, And I want to bring Marianne into this because we had so many trials trying to get the observatory built out in Arizona, and I had intended to be there for all this building, but I could not because of the reasons I mentioned about COVID and so forth. So I think, Marianne, you remember some of the things we went through, and Tara was out there too. Tara was basically like the foreman of the job at times. He would crack the whip, and not in a mean way, because she
needed to be out there.
Yeah, because you weren't there. You couldn't be there for some of the days, and she went out there to manage the people building things. And if she ever had any questions, she would call me in a heartbeat. And then, Tara suggested something else about what she wanted to do for SkyTour Livestream. And I say, well, you haven't done enough? I mean, for crying out loud, you've been out there in this Arizona heat in the desert, driving a couple hours each time to go out into the desert to manage somebody building something that is a building. How exciting can that be? Well, I mean, I guess it can be exciting, but it'd be exciting for me because I guess I don't have a life. But the bottom line is, Marianne went through a lot of it too. I mean, tell them about the first. Well,
how about we just start from the whole beginning, kind of like your toilet paper roll that you do of the history of the universe.
Oh, you're good.
Thank you. I used to have dark hair, people, but now I'm kind of really, really, really gray hair after this. No, seriously.
You ain't seen nothing yet, Marianne. We're going to make a telescope technician out of you, whether you know it or not.
Oh, I don't know about that. But you know what? I have a brand new 29-foot travel trailer in my backyard that's probably going to go out to the property out there. And that might be our headquarters to get everything set up and any repairs that need to be made. That might be our headquarters out there.
Is that a friend or what? Holy cow.
Well, it's also going to end up being a hotel because, I'm going to have to pay a nightly fee to stay there if I ever go out there.
All you need to be a telescope technician, Marianne, is a bottle of Windex, a roll of paper towels, and a set of Allen wrenches.
God.
Cool. I'm looking forward. I could do that. Hey, real quick
Go
Mark,
ahead.
when did you decide, what was it, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you decided to build an observatory out in Arizona? I think it's even before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
It was before I met him.
Okay.
A long time ago, that was my goal. I never knew if I could reach that goal.
Oh, then you started with the GoFundMe probably about 2 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And got that money up, which was fantastic. We started with the slab of cement out on the property, and that was about February of 2020.
Yes, and I was there.
Yes, you were.
I was there for 4.
I was there.
And Tara was there.
That's right. And we almost missed the window, because remember it rained the day or two before.
Yes. And it rained in the desert. Go figure.
Yeah. And so the only time it rains out of the whole year is when we want to pour a slab. Luckily, we got the slab poured.
Yeah.
After February, thanks to the virus, we had to keep postponing looking for a building. But I did start going to different places, driving around, looking at places, getting online. And we finally found a business that will make the shed. They'll make the observatory. Spent numerous times with the gal. She was awesome. It's a place out of Phoenix.
Yep.
We talked to Mark. Everything was set. It was on paper, down payments. We were ready to go. Got garage door people set to go. Then, of course, again, between the virus, unfortunate tragedy that happened in my life, nasty, nasty hot weather that even though Mark says he loves the hot weather, we all wanted to postpone it because 115 is a little bit much. And Tara will talk about that here in just a few minutes. After that, the day before we were starting to build, the building company that we had pulled out. They said they could not, and I think Mark's talked about this on the show before. They gave us some reasons why they could not have a roof that could be automated.
Yeah, they didn't say we wanted to have a roof that rolls off, hence the garage door people. Basically a horizontal garage door. Rolls off onto take up space and rolls back on. I had the design. Marianne had the design I gave her. She was acting as the person to literally get this thing built. Why? I don't know. She jumped in with both feet, and I'll never be able to repay her for this. But the thing is, this whole process, when the builder backed out, in the contract, and no one cares about this so much, but it basically says roof is going to have to roll off. It says that on paper. And then he called and said, "What's this thing about the roof having to roll off the night before he comes out?" I'm like, "Well, that's been there for 6 months. You know that the roof has to roll off to open it up because it's an observatory." "Oh, we can't do that." And I basically said, "Well, then you're not the people we're going to use." And we were back to square one, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. And it was another stressful couple of days, but talked to good friends of mine, well, my best friends up in Pine Top, Mark knows Randy and Diane up in Pine Top.
Avid listeners of Sky Tour Radio, they're probably listening now. Hi, Randy. Hi, Diane.
Yep. They told me about a gentleman named Jesse Casso, who owns his own construction company. And as a matter of fact, he was just doing some work on Randy and Diane's place while we were talking. And even though we did not have any blueprints, we did not have any measurements to make this building, but you knew what you wanted. You knew exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, I get on the phone with someone and I could tell them, they could know what we need. Yep. When they get off the phone, they'll say, "I know exactly what we have to do here." That was my head.
It was crazy amazing. I mean, everything, the stars, as they say, lined up. And I got you in touch with Jesse and told them this is going to be a little odd, but this is what we want. You guys, they went out there to the observatory site. And then Tara, being the most amazing woman that she is, she took a couple of days out of her busy schedule and went out there and acted as the forewoman on this build. And at this point, first of all, I want to say that Randy and Diane, Mark, they're waiting for something in the mail, but that's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
they are not happy. But anyway, in October, we finally started getting this building together. And from here, I'm going to let Tara take it away because she was out there for the actual build.
Wow. Well, it was so fun to be included in this. And I just want to say that up front because all I did was just listen to your streams and your radio shows. And so when I got an opportunity to help out, of course, I jumped on it. Who wouldn't? And so you guys let me go out into the middle of the desert when it was like 107, 109 degrees.
Let her go. Get that let her go out.
You let me do that. And it was so fun. And Jesse was so easy to get along with. And I called Mark because I had no clue what was going on. That's how come I had to keep calling him. But I think we figured it out. It seems to be working great. And it was really fun. And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, okay, good. Because Marianne,
you got another one?
We do. We have another one that we're thinking of. We're going to have Sky Tour live stream 3.
Awesome.
But we got to
you should
in place first. Okay.
Got to go find more dark sky.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to plug in. Jesse was amazing on the building.
Yep.
And then we went and we found the most amazing garage door folks called Performance Doors.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that I dealt with, and it was, I don't want to say it was funny, but he was so wonderful because we kept having to put him off for like about 5-6 months because of everything going on. And he stuck with me the whole time until the day that we got to go out to the site and put the rails on the building. He's never done anything like this in his entire life. And again, without any plans or anything, he just went with the flow. And again, Tara, boy, she was right on it. It was
poor people.
So perfect.
I gotta say this. In my head, I designed this building in my head so that the people that have the appropriate expertise would know what to do from a certain point forward. Okay? People who know how to build a building, they had to get it to the right height, okay, and make the four walls properly braced so that they would be able to withstand being without a roof to tie it all together. And the guys that made the roof, being there with the garage door opener and stuff, they would have to know how to actually make the roof into a garage door. And so from that point forward, they knew what to do. So I had to get them to a certain point, right? And then from that point forward, their expertise takes over. And by letting people use their expertise and not try to micromanage them, which none of us ever did, they came up with a superior design based on their expertise and experience. And I've never seen a smoother roll-off roof in my entire life. This one, sometimes they have a little sticking. They kind of, fluctuate from side to side and get stuck sometimes. These rollers, everything is absolutely perfect because you just turn them loose doing what they do best. Each group knew exactly what to do, and I was not going to get in the way with that. Tara didn't get in the way of it. I mean, there's questions along the way, right? And Marianne didn't get in the way of it. We just let them do their thing once they knew what our thing was, and we didn't bother them, and we got a superior product. Would you agree?
I think they were experts, yes.
100%. They were amazing.
Yeah.
The building looks great.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, we've got a few minutes before our break, but I wanted to just say to Tara, one of the unexpected pleasures of doing this building was the fact that Tara decided that, and we didn't have to coax her. She insisted, if I got it right, Tara, she wanted to actually do a door that had some type of artistic treatment for the observatory. Tell us about your thoughts, and then tell everybody what you did.
Well, initially I was hearing all on your live stream about the observatory, and I, again, hadn't done anything. So I was thinking it needs to have a mural. So a long time ago, I was thinking about a mural of some kind. But when I was there during the build, the door turned out to be the only flat surface on the building that made sense for some kind of mural. So I don't know, it just seemed the right thing to do, and I just wanted to take it home. So I took the door home with me. Jesse took all this time, and Ramon, these took like 2 hours to get it opening and closing just so perfectly, and then I asked him if he could please remove it. And so I put it in the back of my truck and took it home, and I had no clue what I was going to do with it, but I knew it needed something. So that's how it started. Yeah,
and then now we have 2 minutes, and I want to let you tell people just what it was you did. And don't give away any counts now because that contest is still active.
Okay. Well, a long time ago, I worked in what we would call a bar, and I saved bottle caps. So it's been about 20 years or so I've been holding on to some bottle caps, and I tried to think of an image that would represent the observatory, and it took about 3 weeks for me to decide on what the image would be. And during those 3 weeks, I did about 60 sketches and just went all over the gamut of something very serious to very silly. And I settled on the image because I thought it would be the easiest to do with these bottle caps that I had. And it took about 30 strikes of the hammer per bottle cap. I averaged out to get them flat or in the position that they were in. And I just nailed them all onto the board.
Okay, so you nailed them on the board. And what was the image that you created in a very stylistic and impressionistic way?
I definitely took artistic liberties, but it was the Great Orion Nebula in Orion's Belt.
Fantastic. And
I love it.
And when people look at the door, they see all these different colors. Did you paint any of the bottle caps?
Nothing has been painted. I did seal it with industrial auto grade sealant.
That is not paint.
Okay.
But saying the bottle caps were just the original colors they ever were, right?
Correct, yes.
Wow. You know what?
It was very fun.
These people are amazing. And as you can see, Sky Tour Radio and Sky Tour Livestream are no longer just me. Okay? That is no longer the case. They have taken over, and now maybe I'll be booted off the board if we ever have a board. But honestly, we'll be back in a moment here. We just want to take a little breather and let you take a breather. And when we come back, we got some interesting stuff to talk about, trust me. This is Mark D'Antonio with Tara and Marianne and Daryl and Amanda. I put Amanda last because Amanda is the final name that will be remembered by everybody. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website angioprim.com.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Permanent industrial glue impossible to remove? Not anymore, because Handyman Formula by D-Bond is a patented chemical adhesive remover. It's used in the building and home maintenance industry, but now it's available for your home use, for your DIY projects. Unglue stickers, silicone rubber, labels, price tags, flex tape, weather stripping, carpet glue, wood glue, liquid nails, even 3M 5200. And it dissolves graffiti. Yeah, graffiti. Handyman Formula by D-Bond works, and it's safe to use on most surfaces. No need to call a professional. Don't get out the pliers and blowtorch. Just apply a little Handyman Formula by D-Bond and wait 90 seconds, then quickly and easily pull the items apart. Get unstuck. Visit DBondHandymanFormula.com. That's DBondHandymanFormula.com, or call 561-575-4200. Handyman Formula by D-Bond.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRARadio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Sky Tour Radio with our special guests, Tara Diolis and Marianne Robb, here on KGRARadio.com. And as always, we have Daryl with us and we have Amanda. You guys, you know, what can I say? You all make up what Sky Tour Radio and Sky Tour Livestream is. And for that, I could never repay you. I really can't. So you want to raise? Well, twice zero is zero, man. And I know I'll give you 2 zeros.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all worth more than we're doing this for, of course, if we want to think of it that way. But, you know, I've always been an astronomer, you know, and most of you know I was going to be one since age 9. And I never wavered. So I guess that means that I never really did care that much about money, huh? I just cared about getting the word out, right? And that's how you are, Daryl. That's how Amanda is with trying to make sure that she does the best she does with productions on KGRA and the stuff that she does. She does a fantastic.
Everything's better with Amanda.
And that's the phrase you always say, and it's always true. Never not been true. That's correct. And now, of course, you're getting to hear, folks, a little bit about Tara and Marianne, who have been instrumental in getting our Western Observatory off the ground. And I can't say any more about it, other than, these people are fantastic, and I want to have them on because they deserve to be heard,
Everything's better with Marianne and Tara, too.
That's correct.
Carol, you're so amazing. You're so amazing.
So sweet.
Oh, I've become a regular pest in the chat room over at iDetective, I'm afraid.
We were all talking about your comments the other night, actually. It's wonderful to see. Thank you for the support.
Sure.
Excellent. Yeah. Hey, Mark, just one other, if you don't mind, before we get on to other business, just talking about the observatory, I really want to do a really strong shout out to Keith from P&K Space Imaging.
Yes.
Him driving the telescope out. So it was total in safety. It was warm, it was safe, it was dry, and he drove it out 2,400 miles to my house.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. And I thank him for that, because any delivery service, you don't know what's going to happen to the telescope. And he was amazing. So I do want to thank him for everything that he did.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how he basically said, give me 2 days and I'll figure out what I can do and what I can give you for cost. And he basically did it at cost. And I kept saying, why? Who wants to torture themselves this much? But, he's just off from having driven out to, Utah with his with the other guy in P&K Space Imaging, who is, Paul. And Paul and Keith are going to have a telescope in this observatory with us. There's room for 3 telescopes in there. One will be ours, one will be theirs, and then one's going to be our wide field system. So we can do nice wide field views of the Milky Way and night sky. And that's something that we'll add later on, hopefully this year, after we get the Connecticut Observatory back up and running, because we got rid of the old building here that was not sufficient. It was an actual dome. It looked great. It was a big white minion on the front lawn of the property here. And people saw it. It became a fixture in this town. But you know what? A fixture aside, it has to be practical. And I needed something where I could actually just have the roof come off, kind of like out west. And so I've designed a building here and worked out all the mathematics to make sure that the roof can just pivot right off automatically. That is something that's easy to build and easy to maintain, and it'll be modular, so we can take it down and put it up somewhere else. And that's the key. So all that in place, we'll have that building underway actually in just a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to that. Now, that's what you get for letting Marianne give you just one more thing about the observatory. You got to hear me go on again about something else about the observatory. Sheesh, But I will say tonight's show also involves some other things, and that is has to do with dreams actually, in some ways. And dreams are very interesting. Many times, we all have dreams. We think about things in our dreams. Some of the dreams are nightmares. Some of the dreams are pleasant experiences. Some people can control their dreams. Some people are just passengers, okay? Well, many times I dream about perplexing questions that I try to solve, and I try to solve them while I'm sleeping, okay? Many times in my dreams, I'm an active participant, okay, who steers the dream in certain directions that I'd like it to go. And I guess this is what you call lucid dreaming, I guess. And it's a dream. And you go along for the ride, but you manage that jump scare aspect so that you're never surprised by anything. You always know that you're in control. And then there are these dreams that pose these really interesting questions. They stick with you, and you remember them, and you want to find the answers. And let me just tell you, I had one of those 2 nights ago. The answer wasn't so much the problem, I think, but finding out if anyone had ever addressed it was the big deal for me. So you're saying, well, what was the question? Well, it actually relates to the rotation rate of the Earth. Yeah, I know. Okay, my dreams are kind of boring. I appreciate that, but so bear with me here. But in this dream, I was unencumbered by my daily waking hour busyness, so I was thinking really clearly and really focused. I thought all at once this. In the Earth's early years, the days were shorter, meaning that Earth rotated faster. Now, that's a fact. However, I added to it, and in my dream, I was thinking, but wait. So as the Earth rotates, gravity holds you down to the Earth. But also at the same time, there is going to be a force that wants to try and push you up off the Earth due to its rotation. We can call it a lifting force, the merry-go-round force, whatever you want. But I'll define it for you in just a bit. But I wondered if that meant that since animals were being kind of flung outward a tiny bit more so than today against the gravitational force pulling them back down, did that tiny bit of outward force and thus the attended weight loss that would go with it, could that have contributed to the larger size of the dinosaurs in those early days? Now, first of all, this effect is well known. It's called the Utvush effect. Okay, it was discovered by a Bavarian scientist by the name of Roland von Utvush. That's Eotvosh, pronounced Utvush. And we'll get to that in a minute. But the question is, what do I mean by the rotation rate of the Earth? Was Earth spinning faster? Well, yeah, Earth was spinning a lot faster, and it's been slowing down ever since its formation. Right? You've heard Daryl and I talk about this in the past. And we've talked about the Earth spinning down over time. And every year prior to 2021, basically the Earth has started to spin. It was spinning faster in previous years by a tiny amount each year. But this discussion deals with the times when the Earth was really spinning quite a bit faster, the time when the dinosaurs ruled the Earth. So we're talking about 200 million years to 65 million years ago. Now, Earth rotated at different speeds, slowing down all the time from the initial formation 4.6 billion years ago. And that rotation rate back then was just 4 hours long. Can you imagine that? Daryl, your day being 4 hours long? What would you do?
Nap.
Nap. That's about it, right? That's about what you do.
Every time I'd wake up, I'd be a day older, and I guess the year would have still been the same, though, huh?
The actual time would be the same, but the Earth would have had many more days per year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were a creature living on the planet, then let's say it was Daryl napping, okay? Back 4.6 billion years ago, a visitor to the planet, came down on the Earth where it wasn't molten still. The Earth would be rotating 6 times faster than today. All right? So technically, Daryl wouldn't feel as heavy as he does today because there's this apparent force trying to propel him off the planet, off the Earth. And that pseudo force is something that some of you know. It's called centrifugal force, and forms the basis for what Utvush, Roland von Utvush, discovered, and what every child who has ever been spun around by his arms knows intuitively. If you let the child go, then away they're going to go. And Utvush had experiments where he actually was measuring how heavy ships were when they traveled to the east versus traveling to the west. And let me tell you, no one in the Flat Earth Society likes Utvush because he disproves them with this simple observation. And that is that when the ships were heading eastward, they were slightly lighter than when they were heading westward. And people are like, what? Yeah. Same thing for you in an airplane. When you fly from the east coast of the United States to the west coast, you're actually a little bit heavier than if you fly back toward the east coast. Kind of interesting, And the reasons that happens is because as the ships moved east, there was a component of their motion going in the same direction as the rotation of the Earth, which went from west to east. Okay? And that gets added to that rotational motion because they're heading in the same direction the Earth's rotating in. So it gets added to the centrifugal or that outward pushing force, making you lighter by a small amount. But only if you go east. If you go west, you end up subtracting your speed by a little tiny amount, and the full gravitational force can affect you, and you'll be heavier. You will literally be about a pound lighter traveling east than traveling west in a modern jet aircraft. How about that, huh? I wonder if they find that in the fuel economy of the jets. I wonder if it shows up in the fuel economy. Oh, that's a number I did not research. Daryl, I think I'm onto something here.
Well, all I can say is what I said to you in Skype earlier. In reality, at least traveling to and from North America and Europe, you go faster when you're going east than you do when you're going west because of the jet stream winds.
Yeah, that's part of it,
But
sure.
that's something else, I guess.
And that's actually just time to get there, but your speed, okay, does still add to the rotation of the Earth, and it does give you extra lifting force.
Right.
So it does. It's part of the Utfush effect.
Yeah. Does this relate to equatorial sites being the most preferential launch sites for rockets and such? The farther to the south, the better. And this is why, like, Cape Canaveral is used in Florida, and why ESA, I guess, or the French use that site down in French Guiana near the equator.
Yeah.
Because they're adding the Earth's rotational velocity to their rocket impulse to get closer to orbital velocity.
You're right, absolutely, Daryl. And at the equator, because Earth is an oblate spheroid, and so it's a bulging sphere. The Earth is rotating fast. The Earth's rotating fastest in that the equator, because it bulges deep. And at the poles, the centrifugal force, that lifting force, that outward push, is almost non-existent. So I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty cool. Now, I gotta say, when we talk about this, you think, how fast would it take to spin us off the Earth completely, right? Well, that's the opposite extreme, right? Maybe you get a little component of lifting force because of the Earth's rotating, but how fast would the Earth have to rotate so that we can actually just jump and go right off the planet? And that's something called escape velocity, and it corresponds to an Earth that would have to rotate 17 times faster than it rotates now. That means 17,700 miles per hour right here at the surface. But that's everything. That's the land, that's the air mass, that's everything rotating at that speed. That would give you a day that's only 85 minutes long, right? So that's very high compared to what we know for Earth's rotation in the past, okay? At its fastest, it was a 4-hour day, which is only 240 minutes, right?
That speed sounds suspiciously close to orbital velocity.
Actually, it is, because that is exactly the speed to make a circular orbit at sea level. Okay, where the ISS is located, that speed is 17,100 miles per hour. Because the farther away you go, the less you have to travel in speed in order to maintain a circular orbit. So you would maintain this escape velocity and maintain this perfect circular orbit, so to speak, if you were going 17,700 miles at the Earth's surface. And that is a very suspicious number, and you're right.
I suspect that is not counting air resistance.
No, it's not. But remember, the air is going with you at that speed.
Well, okay.
Yeah, otherwise you'd burn up like a match in no time. So so the question is, at the Earth's fastest, at 4-hour day, that 240 minutes per day, that's a far cry from that 85-minute day that we'd require to have that escape velocity, right? So you say, well, at the time when Earth cooled, there wasn't really any life here, and it was almost 3 times slower in speed than it needed to be to fling things into space. But the question becomes, by the time the dinosaurs were around, was there enough of this centrifugal outward pushing force to add to the size of the dinosaurs? Restated, did the faster rotation rate contribute to a lower overall gravitational force, which allowed the dinosaurs to become larger? This would only work in the equatorial regions, by the way. And remember, we had Pangaea, Gondwanaland, where the continents were all merged into one. So only at the equatorial belt locations would the dinosaurs in their size be benefiting from this effect. I still have to research where the larger dinosaurs were at that time to see if that corresponded to equatorial regions. But think about it. What if it does? And what if elsewhere in the other mid-latitudes and southern and northern latitudes, there weren't any large animals there? That would actually add some fuel to this fire. I'm wondering. Again, this came from a dream, okay? And why not think about that? Because if lower gravity means you can grow bigger, then maybe other things happen. We know that happens in the solar system, right? On Mars, the features are larger because the gravity is less. The largest volcano in the solar system is Olympus Mons. It dwarfs Mount Everest, right? So how much of a faster rate was required to give dinosaurs a boost? And that's a question that's not easily answered. To at least approach that question, though, it's natural to ask how long a day was back in the time of the dinosaurs. How far from that magic gravity neutralizing 84.7 minutes per day of a day was it? Remember, that number was how fast the Earth would have to spin so things just fly off from the surface. Well, in the age of the dinosaurs, the rotation rate was almost kind of what we have now. It was an hour less, about 23 hours. Now, you said before, Daryl, that if the Earth was rotating faster, then the year would stay. The passage of the year would be the same, but we just have more days in a year because count by year. So the time to come back to the same place in our orbit, when the Earth was only spinning at 23 hours a day, we would have had a 380-day year. School kids would not be happy.
When you posited this to me earlier, it made me wonder how fast the Earth would have to spin before it flew apart.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Most people know that we've talked about neutron stars, and maybe you were thinking about neutron stars as well when you were thinking about that in this mix. Neutron stars are very compact, small supernova remnants, but they spin very fast sometimes, so fast that they can spin up to 700 times per second. That's a star the size of Manhattan Island. How can anything spin that fast? I mean, you have to have seen the Big Daddy to what that neutron star is. Okay, that Big Daddy was way, way bigger and had a lot more mass that was compacted into the core. So it can happen. So the universe is a strange place, and a lot of really interesting things can happen there. So if we look, at how fast the Earth would have to go to fling things apart, we know that the speed is going to be somewhat more than an 84-minute, 85-minute day. That's the speed at which anything set down on the surface of the Earth will just possibly just lift off and leave the planet. So stuff not nailed down would go into space at that point. So it's a logical feature then, a logical condition, as you mentioned, Daryl, to say how much faster would it have to go to start breaking apart rock strata? Well, what about sand? What about a sand dune? That would lift off and probably drain the sand into space if it was going a little bit faster. Maybe an 82-minute day would allow sand dunes to just sort of like drool up into space, and then it's a matter of how tenacious does rock cling to other rock, like
right.
rock. Yeah, and those are engineering numbers that, well, you could probably answer those, Daryl. You had an engineering background, I think.
I'm not prepared to answer that, and I'm sorry if I threw a wrench in the works. Carry on, please.
No, you didn't throw a wrench in the works, but you brought up a good question, so I thought we would mention it. So that's good. So look, the bottom line is in figuring out what a 23-hour day back during the Jurassic Age would have that effect on a dinosaur, it really comes down to this. And I did the calculation to figure this out. So when Earth was spinning at 23 hours per day, all right, during the age of the dinosaurs, at the equator, the difference in weight of a 4,000-pound dinosaur that we measure as 4,000 pounds today, when compared to the same dinosaur back during the Jurassic Age at the equator, he would be different in weight by 18.8 pounds. All right? So he'd weigh 4,000 today, but 18.8 back then. So that's pretty cool. So now, does that mean that's enough for the dinosaurs to grow larger? Okay. Not sure. And you probably wanted answers, but look, it was a dream, okay? So I researched the dream. And that weight loss, that weightless nature is because of that centrifugal force, or that upward apparent pushing force that's pushing the dinosaur off the planet because of the rotation rate. All right. It relates to Utfus force that is the eastward ships weigh less and the westward ships weigh more. It's all related. So I think that's kind of cool, and I think it's kind of neat. But I did ask and shared it with a couple of people, this dream, and I got a whole list of questions in return. And many of those questions came from an unlikely source of really good scientific pondering, and that was Tara DeUlis, who was here with us tonight. She actually asked me, I counted, I think, 40 questions, Tara, and I kind of pared them down to less than that. But I think it'd be kind of fun to maybe go through some of these questions. I hope you're up for that.
Absolutely. I hope you're up for it.
Yeah.
And Daryl and Amanda.
Yeah, no, I know. I think Daryl will be up for it too. I mean, we got a couple minutes left, but why don't we get into them? Why don't you ask a question? Ask us one of the questions that you'd like an answer to that relate to the rotation of the Earth, because you had so many good ones that I will actually.
Goodness. Okay, well, we talked about us being whipped now, and I think I know some of the answers, but how come us skinny folks stay down? Is that a... I mean, we don't fly off the Earth. Is it just, okay, stupid question. What type of effect did the rotation have on the sea creatures and their size? You're talking about the dinosaurs, but what about the animals in the ocean?
Well, they were also dinosaurs. I mean, dinosaurs weren't just on land. There were very, very large creatures in the sea as well. So I think that it makes sense to consider that these creatures were all subject to this. But the oceans, remember, spanned the bulk of the Earth, okay? And so many creatures lived in mid-latitudes, northern latitudes. But it's only the ones around the equator that would be affected by this if it was a real effect, right?
Okay.
But when you talk about being whipped, what I meant was, that outward centrifugal force that tends to be pushing you off the Earth as the Earth spins faster. And it's because that gravitational force completely overwhelms that smaller centrifugal force, okay? And we call it a centrifugal force, but you know what? It's really not a real force. I mean, and that's for another show. Basically, think of it as that force that the merry-go-round force. On a merry-go-round, if it went faster and faster and faster, you'd have to hang on to that horse for dear life. And eventually your legs are going to be sticking out. You just go around and around and around. And if you let go, you're taking off and you're leaving the merry-go-round at a high speed. So basically, if the merry-go-round was the Earth, rotating faster and faster, things on the Earth would eventually become less and less in weight, and then they would eventually have no weight compared to the Earth, but they'd still have mass. Mass is the stuff that makes you, and weight is how that stuff relates in a gravitational field. So We'll come back and talk with Tara, Marianne, and Daryl and Amanda in just a minute. But we have to take a break to let everybody else do whatever else they have to do. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Permanent industrial glue impossible to remove? Not anymore, because Handyman Formula by D-Bond is a patented chemical adhesive remover. It's used in the building and home maintenance industry, but now it's available for your home use, for your DIY projects. Unglue stickers, silicone rubber, labels, price tags, flex tape, weather stripping, carpet glue, wood glue, liquid nails, even 3M 5200. And it dissolves graffiti. Yeah, graffiti. Handyman Formula by D-Bond works, and it's safe to use on most surfaces. No need to call a professional. Don't get out the pliers and blowtorch. Just apply a little Handyman Formula by D-Bond and wait 90 seconds, then quickly and easily pull the items apart. Get unstuck. Visit dbondhandymanformula.com. That's dbondhandymanformula.com or call 561-575-4200. Handyman Formula by D-Bond.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to SkyTour Radio. It's Mark D'Antonio with Tara Eulis, Marianne Robb, Daryl Mason, and Amanda Curran. As always, well, not as always, today's special. And we were talking about the rotation rate of the Earth being faster in the early years of the Earth. And could that have actually caused a centrifugal force that could actually kind of propel dinosaurs a little bit more off the Earth, reducing their weight, thus allowing them to grow larger? That was the question. I know that sounds strange, but Tara came up with an amazing number of questions, probably in the space of, I don't know, Tara, was it like 5 minutes that you put all these out there?
They rattled right off, yes.
They did. You know, and before we basically started into the questions, and actually, why don't you lead in with some more, and let's see what else you've got for us.
Well, you may have touched base on this, but do we know how fast it rotated over the many years? And how do we know how fast it rotated?
That's a very good question. And truthfully, based on estimates, we thought around 4.6 billion years ago, the Earth was rotating at about 4 hours per day. And people have come up with values like the number of milliseconds per century, like 2.8 milliseconds per century or whatever, that the Earth would slow down. Doesn't sound like a lot, but in no time it adds up, because by 3.5 billion years ago, the Earth, just under a billion years later, the Earth was already up to a 12-hour day. And that's when we first saw life at that point on the Earth. So does that mean that 3.5 billion years ago, a 12-hour day, was the 12-hour day the magic number? And that's the question. And now, Daryl has a question about that. He says, was this before the Earth's moon was created? Well, the Earth's moon was created shortly after our formation. So 3.5 billion years ago was after the moon's formation. All right. And so that's also the point where it had slowed down enough so that we got this 12-hour day, the first evidence of life. And then going to about 1.5 billion years ago, our day was up already to 18 hours. And now the question of what's slowing the Earth down, and Daryl's writing it, we have chats too, guys, and so Daryl's writing in chat too. Daryl's a really smart guy. He knows this stuff as well. And, if I say to it, I don't want to steal thunder away from him because he's thinking of it too. Okay. The guy is really, really smart, and everybody here knows it, and so, when the day was 18 hours long, that's when the first photosynthesis began here on the planet. So does that mean 18 hours of a day was a magic number to allow for photosynthesis to take hold? Was it the magic rotation rate? See? And I think about those things, and then one point, just around 1.2 billion years ago, we're up to 20 hours long. And that was when the first eukaryotic cells arrived, the cells that had a nucleus. It's a little older than that, And so is that a magic number, 20 hours, So you wonder about that, did the amount of time exposed to sunlight and consequently and conversely darkness prompt these different types of things, these different types of achievements. And now 500 million years ago, right around the Permian era, it was a 21.5-hour day, right? And 65 million years ago, around the time of dinosaurs, was a 23.5-hour day, all right? Now, as Daryl rightly mentions, okay, what is slowing down the Earth? Well, it's the fact that we have the moon. And I believe that that's one of Tara's questions, which we'll get to after. But that's what's slowing down the Earth. And the reason has to do with the fact that we have a geology and a watery planet. And the Earth bulges a little, okay? The rock strata bulges a little at the equator. That bulge is a bulge that was a holdover from the Earth's spin rate as it cooled. And we have a water bulge, a tidal bulge, as people know it. And that tidal bulge is being attracted by the moon, all right? And it was when the moon was closer to the Earth, and I'll get to that too, and if not Daryl, because I know he'll jump in where he wants to, because it's all good stuff. As the moon rotates around the Earth, that tidal bulge is being pulled by the moon, and also, don't forget the sun. The sun is pulling on it in about a third of the force. So we're having these bulges on the Earth from water. Well, as the moon's going around the Earth, okay, it's pulling up this bulge, but the Earth is spinning. And it was spinning faster in the earlier days, right? So that bulge is being pulled up by the moon, but it lags behind. I should say, there's friction with the crust as it's rotating. So that bulge ends up being a little bit ahead of the Earth as it's rotating. It's being dragged forward a bit. And so that little extra bit of mass toward that end sort of pulls on the moon a little bit. And over long periods of time, the moon accelerates a little in its orbit. And what does that mean? With higher velocity, you end up pushing out into a little bit of a higher orbit. So this accounts for the moon that is slowly drifting away from us over time.
Conservation of angular momentum.
That's exactly right. And that process, because the moon is gaining some energy, all right, Earth is losing some energy, and that's where the conservation part comes in. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, all right? And we can't, it just gets transferred from one kind to another. So if the moon is gaining, the Earth is losing. And so...
can I posit a question here?
You may. Please do.
If we use the moon-Earth relationship as an analog, and you mentioned that the sun itself causes tides on Earth, are we, over the course of time, robbing momentum from the sun, and is our orbit increasing around the sun?
That's an excellent question, and I think the answer to that is, well, the answer is no measurable amount that I know of. And the fact is, the Earth is so much smaller than the sun that the sun completely overwhelms it. If anything was robbing momentum from the sun, it'd be Jupiter. Jupiter is the most massive planet, but being that it's farther away, it may also not have the same effect as if it was closer. If anything, the sun could rob Jupiter of some of its angular momentum, like you were saying. And so Jupiter could actually be slowed down or sped up in its orbit. I do know that like large exoplanets hadn't always been in the orbits that we find them at. Some are so close to the star that we watch them evaporating. Well, they weren't always there, but they lost angular momentum over time and ended up spiraling slowly toward the star. They may have started way farther away, but then spiraled slowly toward the star through, large flare events that threw lots of coronal mass out into space, impacting the atmospheres of the planets, and just robbing them of just enough to kind of slow down their orbit a little bit.
This makes me wonder, though, about so-called slingshot maneuvers, like when the Voyager probes went out and passed all the giant gas planets that, they stole angular momentum, like when the Voyager went past Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and Neptune in turn.
Yes.
Each time they timed the passes just so that the Voyager spacecraft was sped up via the so-called slingshot maneuver. That, even though Jupiter was a quintillion times the mass of the Voyager, it never noticed, it's slowing down perceptibly, but it did indeed rob angular momentum from Jupiter and the other planets in turn.
That is correct. That is absolutely right. But the question becomes, what would it take for it to become noticeable? I think it would take hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of such Voyager spacecraft doing the slingshot maneuver around Jupiter for it to become a noticeable effect, right? In the same way that it takes billions of years for the Earth to have a noticeable effect due to the moon. We can't time the day rotation changing from year to year very accurately, right? But we can time it over a century to just a few milliseconds. So clearly it takes a lot of time and a lot of continued exposure to these forces that are so weak for this to happen. Now, the mass of the Voyager space probe was a lot lower, like you just said, and Jupiter was a lot higher, as you said. So clearly, there could be a calculable momentum loss that we could figure out for what that was. The number would probably be astronomically small, but it's a number. And you're right about that, because we'd have to say, well, how much gravitational force does the Voyager spacecraft itself have? You know, and of course it's minuscule, but still.
Well, sure.
Yeah. But I think it's, I think that's kind of interesting, It's a very interesting question. So then again, to Tara's question, over the years, we've been able to calculate that the Earth has changed its rotation rate. We calculate the length of the centuries, and we're able to figure out that it drops by milliseconds per century. And it's through those measurements we know that the Earth is slowing down, and through the analysis of the moon's motion that we know that it is primarily responsible. All right.
And the moon's orbital distance from Earth is increasing like about a centimeter per year, is it not?
Actually, that number is more closer to 3 centimeters per year.
Oh, okay, 3 centimeters a year, a little over an inch.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool, because I used to say, a couple centimeters a year, and now the actual number, I believe, is 3.8 or 3.4. I don't remember. But I read a paper that said the latest calculation, it doesn't mean it changed. It just meant that they got better data to figure that out, which is kind of cool, And I know Tara's still here with us, but why don't we move on to that next question, Tara?
Well, you're talking a little bit about the orbits getting bigger, but does the spinning rate have an impact on the speed in which we travel around the sun?
No. See, that's the thing. And Daryl was alluding to that possibility of that the Earth might be speeding up or slowing down in its orbit. And don't forget, the Earth doesn't move in a circular path around the sun. It actually moves in an elliptical path around the sun. So we do move faster around the sun at some points than at others. And actually, we move faster around the sun, paradoxically, in January than than other times of the year. But the thing is, our Earth, okay, when you say does the spinning rate have an impact on the speed at which we travel around the sun, fast rotation rates do cause us to have a longer day count in our year. Although the actual time, if you started a stopwatch when we were at a certain place in our orbit and stopped it when the Earth came back to the same place, all right, and then you did it again billions of years later, the number of days in a year would be more in the earlier timing when the Earth was moving faster, right? And so that's because of the fact that we had more days in a year because more of them could get packed into a year's travel around the sun because the Earth was spinning faster in a day. So the day is a human construct, but it was an observation of the universe. So when the hours were 23 for a day here on the Earth, when it was 23-hour-long days, we had 380 days per year. It just meant the Earth spun around 380 times as it went around the sun. All right. Now it spins 365 times as it goes around the sun for a year. All right. But it still takes the same amount of time to go around the sun. All right. So you see how that works, Tara?
Yes, it's so interesting.
It is.
Yeah, and you explain it so well.
Well, I mean, Daryl and I and Amanda have our ways.
So with that, this rotation rate, did it help spur birds into the air? To fly?
That's a good question. And you might think that sounds like a silly question to you, okay? But you know something? It really isn't. And I don't think it did. But keep in mind that we know that, birds' bone density is very low. They have a lot of holes in their bones to make them lightweight evolutionarily. So the effect on them might be minimal, but there's a very remote possibility, and I haven't researched this, but it's a question that I'm asking, that eastward migrations, where the birds would go in that eastward direction, I wonder if being ever so slightly lighter naturally selected that to be a more efficient path for their migration. I don't know the answer.
That's interesting.
Makes me wonder about Coriolis forces. Do birds sense Coriolis forces? Coriolis forces, folks, are what makes the water in your toilet spin when the toilet drains.
Yep.
And that could be a significant effect even nowadays. I assume it was greater in the past when the Earth was spinning faster. People who do long-range shooting, precision target shooting and such, it gets to the point where they have to take Coriolis forces into account to hit their target when they're shooting long distances. It becomes a significant effect.
It depends on the direction they're shooting in, too.
This is true.
Now, here's the thing. If you want to see Coriolis forces in action, if you have a disc that you can spin on a flat turntable, we think of old record albums or whatever, but think of a disc spinning on a turntable. If you have a marble that you put on there and it doesn't move at the slow speeds, but as the thing gets higher and starts moving faster, right? If the marble starts moving, okay, and you watch the marble move, you'll see that it moves in a curve. Well, that curve is directly related to the Coriolis force, making it make that curve. If you're on the record spinning with it and didn't notice anything outside, you would just see the marble move away from you. But it would tend to lag a little bit to one side. And you go, why is it doing that? Well, it's because of the rotation. And that lag to one side would actually make it curve. And that curve is directly related to the Coriolis force, as Daryl just mentioned. So, geez, Tara, keep going, man. This is getting good.
Okay, so tell me about the weather. What type of effect does the rotation rate have on that?
So does the rotation rate affect weather, huh? Amanda, you're with us. What do you think? She's like, what?
Throw me to the wolves, why don't you?
And you're with us on all of this.
I don't know.
Well, if you think about it, when the Earth was moving faster, remember the atmosphere is spinning with us, okay? But maybe storms would have been higher with apparently higher winds at altitude. And we notice this on exoplanets that are fast rotators. We can see that there are fairly high winds that are theorized in these upper atmospheres. Okay, Jupiter rotates. Jupiter's the biggest planet in our solar system, and it rotates once on its axis every 10 hours. So it rotates way faster than the Earth, and it's way bigger than the Earth. So here's the question. What does Jupiter have for winds in its cloud tops? Well, as a model, we look at the solar system to think about what happened here maybe in the past. Jupiter's winds are over 340 miles an hour, basically, in those cloud tops. Well, that's pretty high, and the winds are generally created by strong convection layers from deep below because it's such a big planet. But the planet's rotation is likely a significant contributor to those wind speeds. So I think that's kind of cool, really interesting.
You probably get some sharing effects from latitude with those, and I dare say weather is also affected quite a bit by Coriolis forces. Don't storms in the southern hemisphere spin the opposite direction than they generally do in the northern hemisphere?
I've always heard that, but I've never tested if that works at small scales, like with toilets draining the other way. I know there's been experiments and there's been no difference. But that may be related to the scale of the experiment. If you look at the high pressure systems and low pressure systems moving north and south of the equator, they do look like they're kind of like mirror image, don't they? So it's possible that what you say is exactly correct. And that's something that I actually have not investigated directly.
Well, hey, I saw the Simpsons episode where Bart got hauled off to Australia for making the kid, what was it? His toilet was spinning the wrong way. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. It's funny. And a lot of people know what you're talking about out there, I'm sure. You know? Wow. Well, Terry, you've got some interesting questions, I got to tell you. So keep going. I want to hear more.
It's this inspiring dream of yours. Okay, so...
Say so.
We can't really feel the rotation now, right? So would we have been able to feel it if we were on it when it was spinning faster?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, when people say, well, if we were spinning faster, what would have happened to us? How would we have known? Well, you wouldn't have, because the rotation rate changed so slowly over time. You would have been born and evolved into that spin rotation. And if the Earth happened to have had a spin rate that was, say 90 minutes or 95 minutes in length, then we would all weigh a lot less and we could jump really high. Because we would have that force that tends to be flinging us off, and we would never know the difference. But we would know the difference if we were transported back from this time of a 24-hour day to the time of, say, a 90-minute day. You'd notice an immediate difference. And you'd say, I want to stay here. I've lost so much weight, you know. But in fact, you were just responding to that change in the Earth's rotation. Good question there. You know. So go ahead. Or can't she? She's muted. Are you muted, Tara?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
That's good.
Sorry. Did the rotation rate have a hand in extinction?
Ooh. Well, I have one idea about that. Daryl, do you have any ideas?
This goes back to what you said a few minutes ago, Mark, about whenever, I forget the term, it's when life on Earth went from anaerobic to aerobic. There was the oxygen event when life switched to aerobic life, oxygen using life.
Yep.
And you wondered whether, the rotation rate might have had something to do with that. If that was the case, I could maybe see that being a factor. Per Tara's question.
Yeah. And
it's a big if, though.
Yeah. And I thought about the fact that, a fast rotation would tend to cause these upper level winds that might reach all the way around the planet quite easily. We know that Jupiter's bands go all the way around the planet. Saturn's bands go all the way around the planet, the bands and the zones, as they're called. So the question is, would we have a similar looking atmosphere? Would it be a different looking atmosphere with a faster rotation rate? We don't know what it looked like back then. But I would think that we would see, if we had an extinction level event, say an asteroid striking the planet, if it was moving faster, those upper level winds might transport that high atmospheric particle density around the world quite efficiently, or better than with a slower rotating world, But by how much? That's a question. We don't know, So
well, if we were revolving around the sun faster, maybe the asteroid would have missed us.
Well, that's exactly right. Maybe
that would have played a part in the extinction.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
then what?
See, we don't even, and you're right, Amanda. I mean, we don't even see the asteroids before they pass us generally. And they say, oh, look what almost hit us. I mean, I'm tired of saying, look what almost hit us. I want to say, look what's coming, and let's try to avoid it.
This all makes me wonder if higher wind speeds than Earth's past, when the planet rotated faster, might have been a factor in why life stayed in the oceans before it ever came onto land, like maybe the winds had to slow down before life could come onto land.
And that's a very good question. That's a really good observation, Daryl. And how do we know? See, these are all questions that there's some research on many of these questions, but not a whole lot, because we don't have much to work with. We have the fossil record. That's it. we have radioactive decay rates. That's it. That gives us ideas about when fallout stopped falling, that kind of thing. And speaking of fallout, we'll be in for some fallout if we don't go take a break. I can't believe it's already 7:30 p.m. almost Eastern time. And we've got to take a break, guys. But you know what? We'll be right back with Tara's amazing temptation. What's the word? I'm going to come up with a TTT something or other. Tara's, I don't know. We'll think of one when you come back. Well, we'll be right back. This is Mark with the gang at SkyTour Radio.
A birthday without her mom. An anniversary without her husband. Her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at TAPS.org.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Hey everyone, this is Nick Redfern, and you're listening to SkyTour Radio with Mark D'Antonio on the KGRA network, and so are the Men in Black.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to this special edition of SkyTour Radio with Daryl Mason, Amanda Curran, Tara Deulis, and Marianne Robb, who's also one of the hosts of the KGRA TV show, soon to be a TV show, I Detective. Welcome back to all of you. We were listening to Tara's tantalizing tidbits earlier and questions that she had. And we have other questions, too. It's not just that. I mean, we got questions in the chat from other people as well. But also, Marianne has a question as well that she wants to ask. So, Marianne, feel free to ask that question. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
All right. I've been listening to Tara's questions and Daryl's questions and all, and you guys are so amazing. So my little question here is, all this going on, what has it done for the erosion of the planet? Or if it has?
Oh.
It has, absolutely.
Daryl, take it away.
Well, okay. In the past, if the Earth was spinning faster, the moon was closer, the tides would have been greater. So the motion of water would have caused more erosion on the shores, at least. And greater wind speeds would certainly have caused erosion on landforms.
Maybe higher speed storms as well. Maybe hurricanes were larger, more.
Absolutely.
And consider also that the Earth was warmer at certain points in its history and colder in other points. When the Earth was warmer and it was certainly spinning faster at some of those points, the storms could have been megastorms that would have definitely eroded a lot of the planet. So maybe things that we see to this very day are related to some millions of year-old storms that might have been major. I went out fossil hunting not too far from here, actually. I was determined to find some dinosaur fossils, and I wanted to find some of my own. So what I did, I went out with a friend, and we started going through the rock cuts where they cut the highways through. And some of these were what we call brownstone. And you can see dark layers in the brownstone. And those layers were places where a lot of organic material was, and or a fire had come through, or riverbeds. I mean, you have to look at the study of the area. Well, the thing was, on the top of it, I dug down through some of the layers, and I found some plates, like plates, P-L-A-T-E-S, plates of rock. And I chopped out a couple, and they had these massive, gigantic indentations in them. Indentations that were probably 3/4 of an inch across. I have that rock right behind me, actually. 3/4 of an inch across and about half inch deep into the rock. What that was a Jurassic rainstorm. If we had drops that big falling now, it would have been amazing. Now, the atmosphere was probably a little bit denser back then. There was probably more water vapor moisture content in the air, see? And we might have had higher storm levels. I mean, I should say, velocities and or how much water was dropped in a rainstorm. You're familiar with the torrential downpour when you're driving your car, and it totally takes away your ability to see out the windshield. Well, that's what I'm talking about, but on a Jurassic level where it's even larger than that. Maybe this water would have actually potentially dented the roof of your car. At the rate and speed it might have been falling. So, it's kind of interesting. So, as Daryl said, and I agree 100%, erosion of the planet has taken a very particular path because of how fast the Earth has been rotating. So what do you think of that, Marianne? Your question was actually quite good, wasn't it?
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we do too, actually.
Well, this gets into what we talked about before the break, that I think the Earth had to settle down, slow down, so to speak, before life could at least emerge from the waters up onto dry land. It was probably such a hellish environment, if you go long enough back, that, it's like Q said to Picard in the last Star Trek Next Generation episode, they're watching life about to begin on Earth, and Q goes, oops, they missed. I think, we're a kindler, gentler Earth now than we were billions of years ago. And I'm sure that was a factor in the development of life and, its propagation.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I do remember that episode. And didn't he took Picard back in time to the very beginnings. That's probably the same episode we're talking about.
Yes.
It says, Picard, see that goo? That goo is you.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, get off my ship, Q. And it was just hilarious, how John Delancey interacted with Patrick Stewart on that series. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But that was a good observation there from both Marianne and all of Tara's tantalizing tidbits so far that we're hearing. Do you have any more for us, Tara?
Sure. Well, you guys are talking about the rotation rate slowing down. Will it stop?
Now that is interesting because the answer to that question requires more years than the Earth has left. But the answer is it won't ever stop. However, Earth is actually in the process of tidally locking with the moon. Okay? So as the moon steals our angular momentum and the day begins to shorten, or lengthen rather, okay, there will come a point where the Earth and moon will have the same face aiming at each other at all times. But that time will take way longer than the Earth has left to even survive, because once the sun runs out of its hydrogen fuel, it's going to swell into a red giant, and very likely the Earth and the moon will be reduced to cinders, and that will be the end of it. But the Earth is in the process of tidally locking with the moon. However, if you looked at the Earth, you'd see that the Earth would spin probably, once every, like the moon goes around the Earth in about a month, right? For lack of a better number, we would say the Earth would be rotating once a month rather than once every 23 hours, 56 minutes, like it does now.
And if and when that ever happens, the moon would be pretty much frozen in Earth's sky, just like the Earth is frozen in the moon's sky now.
Yeah, let's hope it's on the other side of the Earth from where I am, because I want to still have a dark sky.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Mark, do all planets rotate?
Yes, they all rotate in one way or another. Even in the tidally locked situations like we're describing, they're rotating. It's just they're not like a locked planet. Like let's take Pluto and Charon. Pluto, the most distant planet. Yes, I said planet. Okay, do whatever you will to me. I think planet Pluto deserves that recognition. Planet Pluto and Charon, its biggest moon, okay, of the 5 it has, okay, they're tidally locked. So, but again, if you just stared at Pluto from what we call the top, and however you define what top is, okay, Pluto will rotate around at the same rate that Charon goes around Pluto. So if you looked only at Pluto, you'd see Pluto be slowly rotating, right? But if you're on Pluto, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's not rotating because you're always seeing Charon in the same place in the sky. You see?
Can I expand on this a bit?
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Okay. Tara, if you go out after sunset and you look up in the sky, every star, every planet, every gas cloud, every galaxy, everything you see is spinning. Everything. And that's part of the basic nature of the universe. If I remember the questions you posted earlier, this may tie into one of your future questions too. But when we go out in the daytime and we look at the sun is spinning. It takes, I think, 25 days to make a so-called solar day, for the sun to spin once on its axis. But then you go out at night and you look at the moon. It takes about a month for the moon to spin once on its axis. And coincidentally, that's how long it takes the moon to go around the Earth. About a month. That's what a month means, is a month. You look at Jupiter, and as Mark said, it takes about 10 hours, 9 hours, 56 minutes, I think. Saturn spins, Uranus spins, Neptune spins, Pluto spins. Everything you look at in the sky is spinning. Yep. And that's a very basic condition of the universe.
And then they might spin a little weird, okay, like Uranus spins like almost horizontally, basically, compared to the other planets. It spins 90 degrees off, roughly. It's like 88 or 89. And so we don't know why that happened, but, collisions are suspected. So it's interesting, and so everything is moving in the universe, just like Daryl said. So go for it.
So it's normal what the Earth went through then. So everything else is going through basically the same type of process then, correct?
Well, normal for a planet that has a single moon that's of fairly large size, yes. The moon stealing some of our angular momentum each year is a process that is kind of akin to the Pluto-Charon system, in terms of the locking process, although Pluto and Charon have completed the locking process. Okay, we have not completed the locking process with the moon, and we won't get to do that in the life that Earth has left. See? So the rotation rate's slowing down. It'll never stop, but we will be tidally locked. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And this all comes back to when our solar system formed. I mean, before the sun was the sun, it was just a big old cloud of gas and dust. And it collapsed, and as it collapsed, it rotated, and the sun formed, and the solar nebula spinning around it flattened into a disk because it was spinning, and the planets formed from that, and that's where they got their spin. Yeah. And they have that spin to this very day.
That's right. And that's why they tend to spin similarly, although there are marked differences, like with Venus and Uranus, as I mentioned, but Venus as well. Venus is the weird guy. It spins the opposite direction of the other planets. It spins clockwise versus counterclockwise. Now, what does that mean? I mean, if you're looking at it from the top, we say it's spinning clockwise. But if you look at it from the bottom, then it's going counterclockwise. So, or vice versa. So really, that spin rate depends on your perspective. And we see differences all throughout the universe. There's planetary systems that are face on to us, edge onto us, 3/4 oblique edge onto us, and the planets are going around the star in different directions. Some are going clockwise, some are going counterclockwise. It's just a matter of how they form. Just like Daryl said, when it formed, there's a certain amount of momentum, and makes you say, is there a general universal Coriolis force in a galaxy? All right, and that's actually something that is worth researching. There might be some research papers out there that discuss the directions in which formation has occurred. And that might actually be something to look into for another show, Daryl.
Well, haven't they actually... I seem to remember hearing that the so-called universal microwave background, the echo of the Big Bang, so to speak, isn't it slightly actually a little warmer one direction than the other direction? And might that be a hint of a universal rotation, which I think may have been one of Tara's later questions.
I think so. And why don't we address that now, Tara? Tara had asked an actually incredible question about the universal rotation. Was the universe rotating as well? And by every measurement we have, we do not see that the universe has a preference. We don't see a universal rotation in any one direction or the other, just so you know. I mean, that's will we be able to someday? If it exists, we should be able to find it. But right now, I don't believe that, I know that we don't have any evidence to indicate that the universe itself is rotating. So.
That's fascinating, though.
It is.
Mark, the rotation, does it have anything to do with how the Earth sits on its axis? And how it wobbles, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, the wobble, the precession, and the way the Earth's axis is tilted might all be related to how that happened. And the rotation rate could be related to how this large object, a Mars-sized object that is rumored to have collided with the Earth to create the moon, the speed at which that impact occurred could have imparted a spin to the Earth. That would be a holdover. You start spinning something as big as the Earth, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon. It's going to end up slowing down through these reactions and interactions with the moon, but it's not going to slow down just because there's air resistance or friction. And there is none out there. You spin something in space, it will continue to spin unless something is stealing its angular momentum. Okay.
Okay. Well, you talked about the moon. So what would the spinning do to our moons? I know Daryl kind of touched on this, but would they be flung away? Could they even form? Could there be multiple moons?
Yeah, we actually have more than one moon at the moment, believe it or not. And this is news to some people, I'm sure. It's a small little asteroid that Earth managed to capture. And Daryl may know this too. I think we're also about to lose it. You know that? You're familiar with that, right, Daryl? You've heard of that?
I've heard of it, yes.
And that little guy that has been sort of tagging along in a really strange orbit with the Earth. Very convoluted orbit, actually. It depends on other gravity wells, as we call it, to carry out its orbit. It's unstable, and it's going to leave our influence actually sometime soon. Don't know when, but it's small enough that we wouldn't be able to actually see it with the Sky Tour live stream telescope with any capability to see it. It's really, really tiny, and it's also dark, so we wouldn't see it. But
we have a lot of man-made moons too.
We sure do, don't we?
In effect, some of the foreign bodies they've seen out there that they thought might have been, a captured asteroid or something, it turned out to be upper rocket stages, like from back during the Apollo missions and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I get a lot of calls and people say, look, I saw this UFO and it's just sitting there blinking in the sky at me. What they're seeing are the blinking of the geostationary satellites, which will glint the sun every now and then, because they don't just stay in directly one spot over the Earth. They wobble in their orbits, taking on like little figure 8 patterns over time. And so that's pretty interesting, that can happen. But I do know that these things will look odd from time to time, and so I want to thank Amanda. She just threw something in our Skype chat which talks about the Earth's second moon, and it's going to actually make a relatively close approach to us. And then I think after that, we're going to be saying goodbye to it, I believe, forever. So hopefully it won't come back to bite us someday. If it does, it's probably going to be millions of years in the future when we'll be capable of stopping it. We'll probably be mining asteroids by then, if not in star systems nearby, right? So that's a good way to go. Sure is. Anyway, Tara, you may continue with your tantalizing, your tantalizements. We'll call them tantalizements.
No, I love it. Okay. Does the rotation have anything to do with our human physical appearance? I mean, are we tall and slender versus short and squat because of that?
That's related more to the mass of the planet, because the force that tends to lift us off the planet, that centrifugal outward flowing force that we're talking about, that from the spinning, is vastly overwhelmed by gravity. So if we're a massive planet that spins somewhat fast, the massive gravity is probably going to win out and hold you down to the planet. And that massive gravity might make us short and squat. Right. Now, if the planet was spinning extremely rapidly, then and had no moon, for instance, and say it could spin rapidly, like our Earth would spin in 6 to 12 hours if we didn't have a moon. All right. We'd still have tides because of the sun, and we'd still have angular momentum stolen by the sun. In that case, Daryl, that's a point to make there from your last question. But we would have a 6 to 12 hour day. Would that be enough for, 1, photosynthesis to occur, 2, for us to have left the oceans and come on land, okay, and 3, to develop any kind of technology and intelligence, to say the least? So we don't know the answers to those questions, but I think that it's interesting to consider that all of the above could happen. possibly somewhere. And if because of the number of planets that we know out there now and I suspect that we're probably able to find a location somewhere in the universe where any and all of this has happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to consider if and when mankind, or humanity, shall we say, moves out into space, goes to the moon, goes to Mars, goes to wherever, and stays there, well, it's just a matter of time. Evolution will be in effect, and say you're a kid born on the moon. Well, evolution is still going to happen, and people will maybe tend to become taller and a lighter skeleton. The same thing could happen on Mars. If they go to a heavier planet with a heavier gravity, people could turn short and squat and very strong.
Yeah,
these are old science fiction tropes.
Yeah, and like just to go down that path, just a split second here. If you were, let's say, our star was a red dwarf star, where the light was predominantly in the red end of the spectrum, we'd be very close to the star. And so, even though it's a dimmer star, overall, if we're that close to the star, it'd be a fairly bright star to us, and bigger in the sky. So we probably would have developed a way, as we grew intelligence, to either have smaller eyes, or have eyes that had developed to look on the dark side of the planet, which would be on the tidally locked side, because they're almost all tidally locked. And maybe this explains, for instance, why people talk about the grays, the alien grays. Are they from a planet that is predominantly from a red small dwarf star? And so those black almond-shaped eyes are kind of big, but maybe they developed on the Terminator, or the permanent sunrise-sunset part of the planet, which would probably have the best location for doing or developing, because that would be not too hot, not too cold, like the old Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? The Goldilocks zone, the planet could be in the Goldilocks zone with its oceans and water, and it could have also a temperate climate in those locations. So who knows? I think it's pretty cool. And Tara, you may continue too. I want to hear more.
Okay, well, does the expansion rate of the universe affect our rotation speed? And wouldn't like another force slow down the rotation, like dark matter, as we move through space?
Well. First of all, dark matter operates at galaxy levels. It doesn't operate on planetary levels, as far as we know. But the expansion rate of the universe is something that's actually kind of in flux. We think we know that the universe is accelerating outward. We think we know that the expansion rate, based on the Hubble constant that Edwin P. Hubble discovered back in 1929, it has changed. And it looks like the universe is expanding faster than he thought. That is to say, faster and faster all the time. And so if it's accelerating outward, then we're talking about this dark energy thing. But then dark matter is the stuff that causes galaxies to spin almost like rigid disks. The stars closer should be spinning much, much faster around the nucleus, like Mercury goes speeding around the sun. But on the outside of the galaxy, the stars should be moving and meandering slower, like Pluto meanders around the sun. But that's not what we see. We see, for instance, and this is not quite exactly the right thing, but as Mercury goes zipping around the sun, you would have to imagine Pluto also going around the sun, and so that it goes around the sun in the same amount of I guess around the same time that Mercury goes around the sun, which means it has to be going in extreme speeds, which is kind of how this show has gone. Don't you all think? I mean, this show has gone kind of like extreme speed.
This is a great show. I hope everyone really enjoyed it. Thank you, Marianne and Tara, for joining us tonight, and Great questions. A lot
what
to
a
think
joy.
about. This is a really fun show.
Thank you.
I hope everyone agrees.
Yes.
I just wanted to give Tara a chance to ask these questions because, she wrote them in Skype earlier, and I was like, "Whoa, slow down here. We're gonna put these on the air, and you're gonna do it." So we had more to go, but you know what? That's fine. There'll be more for another time. But I wanted to thank Daryl for coming on. Thank you, Daryl. And thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Tara. And of course, as always, Amanda, who is now producing shows on KGRA and doing a phenomenal job. So,
Guy Detective, where you can hear more from Marianne Robb.
That's
Thursdays at 6 Eastern.
On
Yes.
Detective.
Thank you so much for plugging that. I appreciate it. And it's been such an honor being on with you guys. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if people realize she's still working as an officer. And, you are the one that deserves all the thanks from all of us. So be safe in there.
Marianne, Tara, it's been great. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you all. It's been a joy.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Remember that? That was Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, the original Batman with Adam West. So anyway, guys, thank you. You've done it again. You've wasted a completely good 2 hours on Sky Tour Radio. And yes, I'm borrowing that from Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers from NPR. We did Car Talk. I just thought that was such a great way to end the show. You've done it again. You've wasted your time. But thank you for joining us again. We've had a lot of good fun with you tonight. And we've got more of Tara's tantalizing and terrifying tidbits. There's got to be another word in there we can throw in. We'll figure it out. Terrifyingly tumultuous. No, that's not good either. But you know what? We'll figure it out. Up to now, we'll have a good time with you next week. We'll see you later, folks. And remember, when you go out, you keep looking up.
Except while you're driving.
Night, everybody.